Welcome to Tales from the Flipside. We have another episode of Deal or Flipside. Cool. How's it going, everyone?
Going well.
All right.
Damn good.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and introduce the panel. So sitting right next to me, we have the best presser in Texas.
That's right.
What's up, guys? This is Red Hood Comic. Glad to be here. Let's have some fun.
Cool. And we have Chris Colbert. How's it going, man?
Going well. Chris Colbert, Colbert's Comics on eBay, and I can be found here multiple nights a week doing shows on the Tales from the Flipside channel. Dirty Flipper.
And then we have Jeffrey Albertson's best friend. How's it going, Nico?
So legitimately, I found this. It's been behind me for fucking months. I've removed it from my set. It's not that I'm mad at Matt Groening. I'm just mad at this motherfucker.
Nice.
Who do you think it is, man?
Well, we'll talk privately.
And then how's it going, Tony? Blue Green Artifacts?
Not too bad. Good to see you guys. I am ready. Nico, I think this is the first time that I've had a chance to do a deal or Flipside with you. So
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
Well, take it easy on me. Hopefully you use a lot of lube and it'll be painless. Wait, what? Hold on, what?
So yeah, before we start, I'll go ahead and explain the rules. Each of the panelists has a sign, and then I'll throw up 2 books for comparison, and then we'll choose at that price point which book are you buying, and then I will choose 2 panelists. Hopefully, we'll have some more people joining us later. I heard someone was picking up some food, so we'll see if he joins us. But until then, let's go ahead and get the game started, and then I guess I'll continue Yeah, and I guess I'll continue saying it. Thank you, Obi. No, the old Obi Gray. Is that what it is?
Obi
Something like that.
Real games, no gimmicks.
Yeah, he did a remix version of this thumbnail, and then so we'll see. And then he's supposed to help us coming up soon. So, well, yeah, we appreciate
Aaron, Aaron, please tell me you use that on your business cards now.
Yes.
That I think it might be. I might have to, and then I will repeat what I said last week. If y'all find a deal on the panel and buy the book on air, like, hey, that's a good deal, I'm gonna buy it. I'll shave my head just like this.
Oh,
yeah. So golden buzzer +1. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the books. As I did last week, I'll start out low and then jump up high, and then I will add polls to each book. So let's bring our first set of books up. So we have a Walking Dead lot of 40 books of 145 to 189. That's
you gotta give that dog some fucking weed, bro. Give him like THC pills.
That's bad for dogs, so I'll give him CBD instead.
All right.
Yeah. And verse, I was hoping Sean. The reason why I put both these lots was because I was hoping Sean would show up, and we have a huge Preacher Absolute Vertigo #1 comic lot first appearance run specials that sold for $109 plus $20 shipping also. So for the Walking Dead, hold up the Flipside sign. For the Preacher, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol. Hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go with Tony and I don't know what you wrote, Nico.
MP, Modern Playbook.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It's been a long time. So
let's go with Tony and let's go with Nico.
I think we got the same.
Oh wait, I lied. Jesus Christ, hold on, I lied. I want the fucking Walking Dead. Yeah, don't go with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody choose the Modern Playbook?
Yeah, you'd be out of your fucking mind to pick the Preachers. I was like, why would somebody have picked the fucking Preachers? And then I was like, oh wait, I inadvertently picked the Preachers. Did nobody pick that shit, right?
I did.
Okay.
You picked the Preachers, Tony?
Yeah, so we'll still go with you two.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay. I was gonna say-
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No, man, it's all right. I'll go first, since this seems to be the challenging one. I'll be the brave one.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, educate me. Lord have mercy.
No, I don't have anything against Walking Dead. I know it's what's the word? I don't want to use iconic. Very important in the world of comics. I just, it's the high end of the run, man. It doesn't interest me. 145 through 189, it just doesn't. So I don't know spec wise, one way or the other. I mean, there's probably, there's some Walking Dead keys in there, and that's probably why everybody chose the run. But I'm not super connected to either one of these. I'm not a huge fan of either one as an investment purpose. But I do love Garth Ennis, and I loved Preacher is one of those books that brought me back into comics at that period of time. Loved that. Just loved those stories. I wasn't so happy about how it was portrayed or how it translated to TV. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't. It wasn't what it could have been. So no, Nico, I don't have a great argument for why Preacher is so much a better pick than Walking Dead. It's not for me. I'm not going to invest my money in Walking Dead at this point in time. Put it that way.
My ramblings. Yeah, I was sitting there trying to count Preacher books compared to Walking Dead books, but at the end of the day, the analysis is no more complicated than The Walking Dead is going to have a second life in these films, which are probably going to be like 2-hour AMC mini specials, and it is more of a fixture within comic books than Preacher will ever be. I don't care how much money fucking Sean Legg made on fucking Preacher. He's a homer for it. It's a very thin window of Vertigo. It's important to people who loved it at the time. But, frankly, it's a wrap for the series that couldn't possibly ever be made again. I mean, it's over. It wasn't that good of a fucking TV show. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you can somehow get rid of Preacher books in lots like this for $100, more power to you. I'm not necessarily so uncertain that that's a bad buy at about $2 a book on the Walking Dead comics. I told myself at some point in time that I'd start buying them out of dollar bins, just put them away forever and ever. But they just weren't cold enough. And really, I wanted to have a copy of #1, which I do not have because I've been, like many others, too cheap to buy a 9.8, and they just keep ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. But that's kind of, the extent of my analysis on it.
All right. And the floor is open for either Chris or Joe to add on to either or.
I'll throw out this is that for what it was, I enjoyed the first couple of seasons of the Preacher series. But yeah, Nico's absolutely right. Like, it ended poorly, and like the powers that be who made it as successful as it was have gone on to bigger and better things, a la Invincible. Like, it's funny because I'm not sure, again, me being the television homer, Seth Rogen's production company was responsible for Preacher. They are also responsible for The Boys. They're also responsible for Invincible. So all of these properties that nobody ever thought would ever be able to be turned into anything other than a comic book, his production company has been behind and made them fruitful. They're on to the next thing and the thing past that. So they're never coming back.
Fear Agent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they're not looking back to do anything with Preacher. So from an investment standpoint, It ain't there. Walking Dead, like you said, still has the possibility of these future movies type scenarios. It still holds a warm place in people's hearts. I think people are also like, it's a certain particular type of person who was really like about Preacher. Not saying anything about Leg. Like, he's actually kind of more the outlier. But your typical Preacher fans, and in general, your Garth Ennis fans, are edgelords. Like they are extremists for the sake of extreme. And I think Walking Dead just resonates with a broader audience. Like, I remember going to an LCS and knowing a 40-year-old woman with 2 kids who the only book that she regularly pulled was Walking Dead. So it started to transcend the general comic book audience and the people who were into these things in their floppy forms. So yeah, I think that Walking Dead could even potentially, maybe 20 years down the line, have a second resurgence in like people just revisiting it and telling that as a movie, but in a more condensed fashion of an isolated story within the world of Walking Dead, possibly. So,
all right. And the one thing I do want to say to add on is that with The Walking Dead, they're also reprinting the books right now, currently in the deluxe version. So I sat there with my LCS owner and figured out how many years it was going to take. It's going to take
Jesus.
9. It's going to take 9 years. Like, if they put it out twice a month, like, and so if you really think about it, once the people that are actually buying that like realize, oh, these aren't even first prints. Like, let me go back and buy the first prints also to complete my collection. Like, I feel like there's going to be a handful of people that are going to do that. I mean, even though it's probably not like the top selling book right now, because like, there's all those 1 in 25s that no one ever gets, right? Like, maybe like one person, handful of people, but
true story.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. And the prices will keep on increasing as we keep going. All right. So now we have IDW Star Wars Adventures number 7, CGC 9.8, the retailer incentive variant, first Hondo, versus the Pure Images of number 5, volume 3, CGC 9.6, that sold for $405, which claims to be the first Ren and Stimpy. Do you happen to know if that's true, Nico? Because I figured I asked.
No, that's above my pay grade. Where's Topher when we need him?
Right. Or someone in the chat, let us know if that is an accurate statement. I wasn't sure. It was just what was listed. But for Star Wars, hold up the Flipside logo. For Pure Images, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol.
Oh, fuck Christ.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
I always want to write red and blue.
All right. Let's go with Tony and Joe.
What you got, Joe?
Stimpy, you stupid idiot! No, man. I mean, that I've never seen that book before. Pure Images, never seen it, and it's a high grade. Where did the guy get it from? Did you get it from Canada? What is that? Best offer accepted, 405. Man, I've never seen that book, man. It's a great looking. I wish you can you make that book bigger, Aaron, so I could see it. I've never seen that book.
Let me see if I can pull up another image of it and then add on the tab. Okay. But
you ever seen that
what
book,
I saw
Nico?
on
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah, what I saw on another listing of this book was saying that like there was like a 9.4 that was like highest grade on Census, which obviously isn't true because 9.6 sold like a few days later. But let me look up Census information and see if I can find another image.
Now I don't know if they're going to reboot Ren and Stimpy, but I mean I remember when that was a thing and just that Chihuahua was hysterical and. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't think Hondo's going to be a Dark Lord of the Sith or anything, right? Is he a Jedi? Like didn't they cancel IDW too? So that kind of like they're not going to be making Star Wars books anymore. So I mean, I don't know. First Hondo, like, are like, what is Hondo?
That's not a rhetorical question, is it?
Yeah.
He's like a bounty hunter. Like he was part of the Clone Wars series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I mean, I know like it's the first appearance of a key character, but like, that was kind of depressing that they kind of like got rid of IDW, because now like I don't know what that's going to do to the value of these books. Like, what do you think, Chris? I mean,
it should create a certain form of rarity. I mean, people prefer the Dark Horse stuff over the Marvel stuff
true.
when it comes
Yeah.
to.
Okay. All right. All right. That's kind of where I'm at, Tony.
Yeah. I honestly, similar to the first one, I don't connect in a big way to either one of these. Like you guys, I haven't really seen the bottom book before, the Pure Images.
Man, I gotta have it, dude.
I liked Ren and Stimpy, and I'm all about nostalgia plays. But this is about as niche of a nostalgia animation buy as you could get. There are generations above and below people who know this book, who you would have to explain to them in great detail what the hell Ren and Stimpy are. I don't see that being, aside from showing up, maybe on some, I don't know, YouTube shorts or some shit like that. I don't see Ren and Stimpy coming back and becoming a big thing again. It's just a nostalgia play for those who remember it. It's the top one. It's a retailer incentive. I'm not going to question the fervor behind Star Wars collectors. First Cad Bane. I mean, first Hondo, first any character who shows up, those books are going to go up. The retailer incentives, especially 9.8s, especially like Chris said, if we're not looking at IDW books carrying Star Wars anymore, all of a sudden, there's a lot of retailer incentives that IDW did that nobody gave a crap about. All of a sudden, maybe people will. They didn't have the big run compared to the Marvel stuff. So, I just, on an investment side, I think it'd be kind of cool to own the Ren and Stimpy. But if I want to sell something down the road, I'm gonna go with the Star Wars.
Well, my thing is, I've never seen that book before, and I wonder how rare that book is. Right?
Give me a second, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I couldn't find that on Census, but here's a bigger image that I found on Amazon. So hold on, let me switch this real quick. Let's see, stop share.
Dude, I so want that fucking book.
Buy it right now. And
No, man, like
Aaron's gonna shave his head.
There's some Chihuahua out there on TikTok that like I keep watching attack his owner. It's the most hysterical, like Nikki the Chihuahua.
I don't think we can't do that to Aaron before Baltimore though. We don't look like a fucking wacko.
All right, and
we'll do it at Baltimore.
Yeah, and apparently this is like a magazine or something like that. So yeah,
interesting. Becomes less exciting now, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it says it's a single issue magazine, but I mean,
yeah, it is a Topher book.
Yeah, but then Trace Hunter was saying on the comments that Pure Images is good trade bait for a bigger trade.
Smart. At the end of the day, I think Tony's analysis was gentle. The fucking Ren and Stimpy book has very little upside short of like Joe or me or Chris being put in charge of like a fucking cartoon company. And we're like, dude, Ren and Stimpy is going to get a Wednesday night cartoon. It's probably not going to happen. Well, Hondo, on the other hand, is a major fixture in the Star Wars universe. People think that he's got a lot of live action potential. I got a soft spot for Ren and Stimpy, but if I'm trying to be analytical and not emotional about the pick, I gotta begrudgingly take Hondo, and if our man, Vintage Voyage, Phil Lee, the Star Wars Jedi assassin, was here, he'd be fucking shaming us all for even suggesting that we pick up some rando Ren and Stimpy magazine.
So I didn't know it was a mag. I thought it was a comic. So that kind of changes it for me. Is that fair? I mean, I thought it was a comic book.
Even with it being all right, so here's some census numbers that I was able to find on the census. There are 3 graded copies.
Oh wow,
3, and this is the first appearance of Ren and Stimpy because
it's on the thing.
Well,
you figured it out.
Well, because it predates the show by a year.
Wow.
So Ren and Stimpy the show aired in 1991. So this is back when the creator of it was still like, putting it into like first featured them like, so this is Ren and Stimpy Part 1. Like what you can't see on that image at the very top, it says Ren and Stimpy Part 1. So this is their first appearance in published media from the looks of it. And it predates the Ren and Stimpy show comic by 2 years. So this is very much so like one of those
now,
guys, Freak Brothers first appearance type
help
situations.
me out. Where did Ren and Stimpy first appear on television? Because didn't they insert it in was it Adult Swim or what the hell? Where was it? It was MTV.
No, they were
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, they were Nickelodeon. So they were part of a brand new wave that they brought in that was like Ren and Stimpy, Doug. I'm blanking on like all the other shows, but like it was a Rugrats. So it was part of that whole block. Rocko's Modern Life. So it was that whole entire block of animation that came from that animation studio. That
was SpongeBob a part of that too? SpongeBob?
No, that was much
way later.
That was a generation later.
That was almost 20 years later that SpongeBob popped up.
Yeah, because I was a kid when Ren and Stimpy was on TV.
Same. So I was part of that generation that was like that animation block. I mean, again, the reason why I'm going with the Ren and Stimpy book is because, like, from an investment perspective, you never bet against Star Wars. But, like, there is so many Star Wars characters that could be the character. Like, you're going to end up with, like, 45 short boxes of fucking just, like, excuse my language, but, like, this could be the guy in, like, tertiary, secondary, fucking 4th degree removed, your cousin on your mom's side type of characters, where I'm like, even before the show, when we were in the green room, I pulled out like four books that were like Star Wars Legacy, 3rd print, Darth, Asa's Ventress's first appearance. Like eventually it just gets to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm tired of specking on Star Wars. Like there's just so many characters, so many books. It's like you'll go broke trying to get to buy all those. Sometimes the dirty flipper in me has to be a collector and be like, you know what? Ren and Stimpy was a nostalgia play. I appreciate it for what it is. And to have one of 3 copies of a book that, there are no 9/8. Like this is the highest graded copy. So whoever bought this has the highest graded copy on the census now.
Well, yeah. And then, but also you do need to remember, it's an IDW Star Wars Adventures book. How many retailers are actually ordering 10 copies of that?
A lot, actually. Every place that, so again, we keep talking about this and I keep mentioning it, but we haven't had a show to talk about it really, is that there are retailers whose market is families and kids, and they buy a shit ton of these. Like my old LCS was kid friendly to the max. And so I would go there and when that whole wave was happening of those Spider-Man Adventures books or action, whatever comics were happening, they always had the 1 in 10s. Because they sold kid comics and the kids didn't give a shit about the special covers. They were just pulling whatever was on top. And so they would have the 1 in 10s mixed in with the regular covers and charge you nothing extra for them. And my grown ass is coming in there being like, let me get this 1 in 10 and sell it for $30 on the secondary market. So, yeah, this isn't an uncommon book. There are probably a lot of them out there because when you buy kids comics, you buy a lot of them. If that's your market, you buy a lot of these.
All right. And before we move on, I'll go ahead and announce the results of the poll. But it looked like 62% had chosen the Star Wars Adventures. Yep. And then 37% chose Pure Images, number 5. And then one other thing I want to mention is that we have seen Hondo's race in Mandalorian already. So is it going to show up in season 3? I don't know.
I'll say too, I just, as you're looking up the CGC, the census numbers for the pure images, looking up the census numbers for that Star Wars book, this is about 3.5 years old. Of this book, there are 28 on the census. I mean,
Wow.
that's not 3, but for a Star Wars first appearance, the highest ratio variant, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Cad Bane,
and Phil probably has 25 of them.
Cad Bane's first appearance came out in Marvel about maybe 10 months before this. There's about 100 of those. And that highest ratio is going for, over about $1,000 right now. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this. I think, and again, I'm not telling people not to buy Star Wars. Like it's money in the bank at this point. I'm just a little tired of specking on, like, I need Star Wars to actually do something. Like it's a lot of like, well, it's coming. I'm like, yo, man, I've got so many boxes of Star Wars books. I need y'all to do something. Like, give me something other than that.
Yeah, I mean,
than Rogue Squadron trailer. Like, give me something, guys. Yeah, exactly. Like that. That moved nothing book wise for me. I like, give me something real. Give me something tangible, guys. Like,
yeah, I got 10 boxes of nothing but keys that I don't even like throw out at shows. So man, just clock's ticking.
You just need to start taking handfuls at a time at each show you go to. I'm sure you'll sell a handful.
Point well taken.
All right. So for our next set, we have Thor, God of Thunder #2, CGC 9.8. That sold for $550. Versus Marvel Age 97. I thought it was just kind of funny to throw it up there for $550. That's, So hold up your signs for Thor, God of Thunder, or the Modern Playbook symbol for Marvel Age. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, really?
You're gonna go with okay.
I'll take on Nico. Let me have Nico, man.
I want a piece of this.
Okay, so we'll have Nico start it off, and then we'll have Joe kick it off, and then Chris follow up.
Yeah. So
and then Nico can counter like either or at any time.
Right, and it's an unpopular opinion, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But as much as I love Christian Bale, and I love Gore the God Butcher, Thor: God of Thunder #2 is not an uncommon book. Marvel Age 97 is. My buddy just sold a first appearance of Darkhawk, like a Darkhawk 1 newsstand for $1,100 or $1,200 or something. Outrageous. Outrageous, right? Like,
that is outrageous.
Yeah, and like, dude paid. Books shipped, positive feedback. We were just like, what is happening? But he's got another one. He's gonna list it. And I'm not part of the Facebook like Darkhawk thing where they're like, Darkhawk is the thing, whatever. Nor is he. But they're a thing. And I think, unbelievably, that this Marvel Age in 9.8 has the potential to double. I don't see the God of Thunder 2 book, going for much more than $700, even when we see the film. And for that reason, begrudgingly, contrary to my heart and soul, I will pick Marvel Age 97.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Sorry.
No. That Thor, God of Thunder 9.8 is going to be $1,000 book by next year. I can promise you that. That story, and let me use the word iconic. That story, if you have not read Jason Aaron's run from issue 1 through 25, you're missing out. It had so many keys in there. That movie is going to be a monster. I'm telling you, that movie is going to be a monster. Gore the God Butcher, why do you think they went out and sought a A-list actor like Christian Bale? Because, it's almost like that story is so tragic, and there's only one way for Gore to go, is down. But the story is so compelling, and if they do it right, it's going to be one of the best Marvel movies ever. But I'm telling you, if you and issue 5, I think, is the full origin, right? Um, like, and if you can get this in the variant is already like through the roof. But and there's a second print on this, right, Aaron? On the 2.
Yeah, there is a second print
Yeah,
for
so
for number 2.
just the A cover. This book is going to be $1,000 book in a 9.8. I mean, yeah, they're plentiful. I don't know what the census has on it, but man, you're talking liquid all day long. When right, once you get a trailer, and they had some snapshots of Christian Bale behind the scenes. Man, dude, it's going to be wicked, wicked.
All right. I just want to take a little time out real quick to welcome one of our newest members of the Modern Playbook team, the Ninth Wonder.
What up? Sorry I'm running late. But
It's all good, man.
Y'all hanging. I was afraid you might have a skeleton crew, so I was like, yeah, let me hop on. K-Leaf. See, I'm the slimy game show host, but you're the well-dressed professional game show host. You follow all the rules. Me, I break the rules on cover picks, But
I break the rules sometimes.
What do you think, Chris? I mean, what's your take?
All right, so I'm blanking right now. So what was that character's name that also has like a necro symbiote, sort of like prototype symbiote that was like all the buzz leading up to King in Black?
Could it be Null?
No. The one that Null like snatches his like necro stuff and just leaves him naked in space, basically. What was
Wraith?
Yeah, Wraith.
Yeah.
So again, I know we love to like beat down on like Marvel taking creative licensing, but they're not going to introduce Wraith. But what I can see them doing, and this goes into my whole argument, is Gore. Yes, this is going to be $1,000 book. The second, bless you. It's a $550 to $600 book without a trailer. Just a couple shots. We know he's coming, and you know how this market is. Like people will wait. Like knowing a character is coming, will all of a sudden be like, "Oh man, I gotta have it now that I've seen him on screen." Like it happened with Kane. It's happened with every other like villain or major cameo or like you can still get Jane Foster Thor books for dirt cheap or relatively dirt cheap. And the second we get a trailer, it's an $800 to $1,000 book because everybody has FOMO and everybody needs to run out there and buy it the next day. So that's already a given. Darkhawk is got potential because there's a strong fan base there. Marvel's testing the waters, reintroducing it to a series again. There was that whole Kate's throwing them into Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I can see them trying to breathe life back into Darkhawk. Will it pay off in anything substantial in another media? That remains to be seen. As far as Gore, though, Gore's probably going to be mincemeat. Let's be real about it. Probably won't survive Love and Thunder. But I don't care about Gore surviving Love and Thunder. What Gore means for the MCU and what all this other like whispers and murmurs of, a certain King in Black showing up and working his way by way of Venom making his way to the MCU is that it's the perfect setup to get to there. And so this book will spike. And even if Gore doesn't end up dying, I can see them doing the old switcheroo storyline wise. Instead of having Noel, do the whole snatch away the symbiote away from what's his face, Wraith. He does it to Gore. Like he comes across a defeated Gore somewhere and goes, "That belongs to me." God forbid if that's an after credits scene of like Noel finding like Gore and just being like mine, and it crawling back into his being again and leaving the naked like Dendrily Gore laying there. Like. Yeah, that book, like even if that character does nothing else going forward, that would just make this a $1,200 to $1,100 book. So that's kind of where I'm seeing it. Like I'm thinking bigger picture, how Gore ties into the greater story, and if they potentially head down that path. Like this is a given $1,000 book. Like nobody's gonna question that. Like people are gonna pay $1,000 for it the second we get a trailer. Like it's a given. You just know how this market works. But I think there's more machine machination, like, you know, behind the scenes that could lead to this being a bigger play with how he potentially may figure into the greater, you know, if they are truly heading down that Venom in the MCU and no multiversal play, then that could be big for Gore being part of the lead up to that.
All right. We have a pretty good question from Leverage Comics, which, you know, might turn into a roundtable discussion in the future. But he's saying that he has a Thor 2 9.8 with a code removed. CGC does not put a special label on it. Should it be thought of as less? If so, how much? And one thing I do want to say before I end the poll and open up the discussion is I think they've started notating that now on labels, that if the code has been removed,
the digital code, right?
Yeah,
inside the book.
yeah. So that's the code.
Yeah, but you can put them codes back on there.
Yeah, but then this comes into another question: is that restoration now?
They can't tell.
I mean, honestly, for me as a collector, like, I want to be the purist and be like, I want it in there, like I want the tattoos. But at the same time, though, like, let's be real about it. The reason why that code's in there is because we had gotten so anal about collecting that we're like, I don't even want to open this thing. Like, we weren't reading books anymore. We were buying them and immediately put them in bags and boards. So the code was an opportunity for people to be like, okay, I don't want to deface my comics. I don't want to mess with them. So this gives me a digital opportunity to be able to still read the story without messing with my comics before the whole comicsology thing.
I think you got a great point, because the intention for, like, the comic book distributor was so that you didn't want to mess up your book. The intention was so that the owner could peel the sticker off, so his book would stay in mint condition. So if that's the intention, why is it even being counted?
Yeah, like, peel that shit off and like,
right.
You're not like, it's one thing to be like, man, read your comics. It's another thing to be like, you know, I need for you to not remove the sticker so it's 100% intact. I'm like, that's just some bullshit.
Yeah, so
like,
you can never read it.
Okay, so they did note it on the label, but it's not a different color. So
Right.
he's asking if it should be considered like a green label or.
I mean, it's still an intact comic.
Yeah.
Like, if they had never put that on the page, it wouldn't matter. Like, again, it's I don't know. I just don't consider that to be destructive. Like, it's different than the tattoos. Like, it's not a piece of iconography associated with the comics like those tattoos were in ASM. What was that? 238 or whatever it was, where the first introduction of Hobgoblin. It just we're getting a little too anal. Like, we're getting a little too anal about stuff.
You know, Chris, I wonder how many books out there are missing the digital code. They never bothered checking for it. Now they're checking for it. Now, I mean, so it's like, come on, man. You know, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying read your comics, but I'm saying that this is just dumb.
Well, yeah. So it's not the same value as a Marvel value stamp, is what you're saying, basically.
Well, shit, you didn't cut something out the book.
Yeah, and then so I mean, and it doesn't affect the story. You know what I mean? So,
no, fill them shit to, like, use them if you want to use. I mean, it's just gotten to the point now where, like, legitimately people are maintaining a pull list and have a subscription to Comixology. Like, this is just getting out of hand. Like,
all right, but let's move on to our next set of books. All right, so we have a House of Secrets 92 CGC 2.5 that sold for $8.89 versus a Something Is Killing the Children #1 CGC 9.8 that sold for $8.50. All right. Pulled up the Flipside logo for House of Secrets or the Modern Playbook for Something Is Killing the Children. 3, 2, 1.
Drug your dog, Aaron.
All right. All right. Let's go with
phenobarbital.
Let's go with Nico and Tony.
Poor Tony. He always gets stuck with my loud mouth. Jesus Christ.
Bring it on. Mock me. It's all good.
Well, you know, the only reason that I'm electing the overvalued 9.8 that is the most popular comic in the world, that is think, about to suffer from a 500,000 fucking print run, 100,000 copies of a store variant for its successor, iteration, House of Slaughter, is probably because I sold the hell out of it when I was in Cincinnati. People just fucking loved it. And while I think it's an overvalued 9.8, it's still $1,000 9.8. That House of Secrets 92, although it was once point for point more valuable than Hulk 181, to me, it's just not a fucking $900 book in, uber low grade condition. It's just not. You know what I mean? If it was a $500 price tag, that would make more sense to me. I still wouldn't pick it up. But this is just a lot of like price anchoring that now paying the price for years and years later, right? Like I perceive 9.8s for Something's Killing the Children to be $1,000, and I perceive House of Secrets 92, to have a different anchored price associated with it. Like I remember passing up, like 6.0s at $2,000 being like, meh. So now you want me to pay about $1,000 for a 2.5? I'm like, fuck that. But that kind of logic is what, nets me 0 copies of Hulk 181 as I sit here today. So I don't know that I necessarily have the confidence to tell you that there's more upside for Something's Killing the Children, that A cover, which again, there's a lot of copies of, than there is for a low grade copy of House of Secrets 92. Begrudgingly though, I'll take Canyon.
Fair enough. I like the series. Something's Killing the Children. I respect the speculators who jumped on it like that. I mean, on release, there were some people talking big about the book, investing in the book, buying lots of copies of the book, and I wasn't one of those people. So maybe this is a little bit of bitterness in me for not cashing in like I wanted to. But I really look at Something is Killing the Children, and not to disagree with anybody who is heavily invested in it. I know probably some people in this panel are heavily invested in it, but I think that whole series is priced to dominate. I mean, it's priced at like nearly Walking Dead levels of success, nearly, based on this, which comics are rare and what their values are, how many people are hunting them down. I hope it does well. I hope they have a great cast, casting for the lead. I hope it shows up. I want every optioned comic property to succeed. There aren't any that I'm rooting against by any means. But for these prices to continue to double on these Something is Killing the Children, and yes, that 850 is down. I mean, we've seen that number one pop over 1K. But for those prices to double and triple and quadruple, the amount of success you would have to see for a non-Disney or Warner Brothers property it's gonna have life on streaming. It's gonna have one shot. I mean, it's gonna be like Preacher. If you blow that shot, it's not coming back. I don't know. I think there's a lot of, as we know from beloved comics that are optioned, there's a lot of ways it can go wrong. I'm not buying Something is Killing the Children right now unless I find it for super cheap. Up top, that is a super low grade. Not a huge fan of that. But that was an important book 20 years ago. It was an important book 10 years ago. It's an important book today. 10 years from now, it's going to be an important book. 20 years from now, it's going to be an important book. Yeah, like you said, Nico, it fluctuates. Maybe that's a little overpriced for where it's at this moment. So maybe I'm speaking more as a long-term investor on this one than short-term. because yeah, I mean that you could probably buy into that. Something is killing the children at 850. You know, a year from now when there's a trailer or something, you know, maybe we're seeing 1500, something like that. But I don't see any downside in getting that Swamp Thing at all. So, and one of the most beloved covers in all of comics.
Amen.
Would you say iconic?
I mean,
But-
it's Wrightson at his best.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, the floor is open now for anyone to add on to either or book.
Something I was thinking about the other day. Has there been any book since Something Is Killing the Children, any modern book that's released, you know, within the last 2 years that has been spec'd on as much as Something That Is Killing the Children is?
Arguably
Since-
Department of Truth, right?
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
not the same.
Yeah,
But-
no.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not on the same level, but it's like it's
I don't
definitely
know.
up there.
If
I
Department
don't know.
of-
How many?
if
Well, how many
Department of
covers?
Truth wasn't- If Department of Truth wasn't a James Tynion book, it wouldn't have that hype behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're necessarily arguing, or you're trying to argue, but I'm not necessarily trying to argue. But there's like, what, 6 fucking printings of Something's Killing the Children, 7 printings of fucking Something's Killing the Children, 6 printings of Department of Truth when you count like the foils and all the shit. It's about
Well,
the same.
It's 8 now for Something Is Killing the Children.
But
Okay.
even-
How many is it
and
for
it's-
Department of Truth?
6.5, like the corrected
Who
version or
fucking knows?
whatever.
But yeah,
Yeah.
again, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Tynion.
Just my thing, the printings to me don't mean nothing because that's a game within a game that the publisher's playing, but that's a completely different thing. I said that to say this. I don't see anything else that's came out within the past 2 years that's approaching the level of popularity that Something Is Killing the Children is. I don't think Ross Ritchie and Boom Studios and James Tynion is gonna let this thing fail on TV. I just don't see it happening. I think they'll take their time with it, and that could lead to the price dipping down a little bit while we wait for that first trailer, while we wait for that first season to actually hit Netflix. But I think they realize that they have something special on their hands, but they're going to definitely take their time with this and make sure that it's successful. I see some people in the chat saying Stray Dogs. Stray Dogs is already starting to cool off, and that's going to be an animated project for the most part, so it'll never reach the level of popularity that Something Is Killing the Children is going to reach. The first Swamp Thing, I really like that book because it's an older book, and I always side with history. But I feel like Something Is Killing the Children has a chance at becoming like that new Walking Dead, and I feel like the comic book industry needs that. And somehow, some way, whether it be Netflix or just the comic industry in the whole, just rallying behind that book, I feel like we haven't seen this book peak yet with Swamp Thing. And I'm a DC believer as far as the characters that they got and the history that DC has. I can't sit here and honestly say that I see a time where DC is gonna be popular, you know, amongst casuals and even hardcore collectors again, to where this book would supersede Something Is Killing the Children, at least for the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, one thing I do also want to add is, in about a month, we'll have the spin-off series House of Slaughter coming out. So I like, with how many printings there already are, with store exclusives, blah blah blah, it's like there's like, I think like 15 times as many as like the first issue of Something Is Killing the Children. So like, even if that like hits like a broader audience, like how many more people do you think are gonna be like, oh, I want to go back now and pick up this 1A cover?
Am I the only one who kind of rolling my eyes at the House of Slaughter coming out? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but
Dude, 500,000 fucking copies. I
I'm
think
just
they're gonna
thinking
make.
of all You know,
Berserker
Looks
Part
like
Two.
Keanu, yeah, Berserker 2 is exactly what I'm thinking.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, how many people are going to spend, you know,
Oh,
their hard-earned cash on 1,000-to-1 ratios or some shit like that of a book like this that's going to have how many retailer variants? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Who was
it's
buying
almost
the-
like they don't want that
Well,
book to be worth anything.
who
Let's just cut the
optioned?
shit out of it so that it's not worth anything. You know,
Well,
makes our job harder.
Yeah, I mean, well, who optioned Something Is Killing the Children?
Netflix.
So Netflix optioned it.
Yep.
All right, so here's my 2 cents. I chose Something to Kill the Children because this is down, and we still have not seen, even with the current, you know, what the highest GPA record or highest sale value is currently. We still haven't seen the peak of what Something's going to kill and the children's going to do. But unfortunately, that Netflix machine is a bitch. Like, the way they work is that they don't want anything more than 3 seasons. They're not trying to keep a show on because then they have to renegotiate deals. So you have basically 3 seasons to get rid of this book. Well, realistically, you got the first season because, like, Lock and Key. I mean, that's the thing is, like, no matter how strong of a property this is, Netflix will kill it. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
And so I support the buying of this at this price because you still got plenty of time before we see it on the screen, because of the fact that, like, Netflix still has other mechanisms and things churning right now. So you probably got at least another year or 2 before we'll really see anything like even like a teaser trailer for this. So you still got plenty of time to make money off of it. On the Swamp Thing flip side, the reason why the Swamp Thing book is uptaking is because of Justice League Dark speculation. So that's what's causing that book to update. And honestly, like, I historically would have been like the DC poo-pooer in the fact that, like, they can't get out of their own way. But they seem to have maybe figured out the cheat code a little bit with HBO Max. Like, they took what worked over at DC Universe, casted off everything that sort of kind of didn't work, putting more money into it, better writing, better production. And I mean, that teaser trailer for Peacemaker looked solid. There's already talk of a Deadshot spinoff series now.
How about the trolling of Marvel on Twitter? That was like the most hopeful thing I've seen out of fucking DC since Titans dropped.
Yeah,
I was like, go get them, boys.
I mean, they've got
Pick up your balls. You can do it. Like,
they got a
Right.
lot of things in the shoot. So I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I wouldn't bet against DC. So either one of these is a smart play. It's just which one's a smarter play immediately. I'm going to Something Killing the Children, but House of Secrets, you still have money to make there before that drops too. So
All right.
Can I
So
say-
real quick.
Really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Aaron, sorry. Chris, I want to jump off what you just said because a year and a half ago, we viewed Netflix as the option. That was the option. Oh my God, you got optioned by Netflix? Hell yeah. Let's buy 20 copies. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's not, you know, it's
The
not
Sci-Fi Network.
It's not the Sci-Fi Network. But you know what? If the Sci-Fi Network had signed Jupiter's Legacy, they would have hung in for 3-4 seasons.
Ooh, burn. So
You know
true.
what I mean? Netflix has enough money to make everything, but they've also got enough money to cut it if it, you know, anything they want to. They're not invested in anything. They could ditch the whole Millarverse that they spent, you know, millions and millions on and they wouldn't notice it.
This is why this is my favorite show on the channel, for the record, is this fucking dialogue.
Yeah,
Up and
and
down.
one thing I do say about Netflix is I don't think they've had an IP worth holding on to. So it has to make sense for you to take something past 2 or 3 seasons, especially if the production cost is high. With Something That's Killing the Children, some episodes the production cost to be high, but I think you can do a large part of the story without crazy, you know, production costs, especially with all the tricks and mirrors out there. I will say this with House of Slaughter. I think the difference between a savvy speculator and somebody that's just buying books to buy books is that House of Slaughter, I wouldn't even consider buying that. Not even for like the really high ratio variants. I would be looking back to like the first appearance of Aaron Slaughter because he's going to be the lead in the House of Slaughter. And I think they're doing that to appeal to more of a male demographic. And I think we are probably going to get a more edgier, a more hardcore, a more gutter version of something that's killing the children with the House of Slaughter. So while I don't like that book for the spec on the first issue, I think going back to his first appearance and just kind of thinking forward with that series, it could bring an entirely new fan base into the something that's killing the children universe.
Issue 6, if anyone's wondering. All right, and then I ended the poll, and 62% chose the House of Secrets 92, and 37% chose Something Is Killing Children.
Ooh.
Yeah, but let's
Fucking
go ahead.
Love it, dude.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So we have a Spawn #1 newsstand edition CGC 9/8 that sold for $1,049 versus a Wolverine 1 limited series that sold for $1,000 and $16 for shipping.
Oh man.
Yeah. So all right,
You just warming us up to really fucking put the screws in, huh?
yeah. But I also want to give a shout out to TG 9000 for sending me these suggestions. He actually sent them to me last week, and then I just updated to more recent prices. But like, yeah, he sent me these books for comparison. So Spawn newsstand for the Flipside logo, or the Wolverine 1 direct edition with the Modern Playbook logo. All right, hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Let's go with Joe and Chris.
Awesome. Joe, you want to pop it off, or you want me to go first?
You can go first, dude.
All right, so I chose the Wolverine. So not even the fact that I am a Wolverine fanboy, one of my favorite characters in all of comics, but like this to me is just kind of a no-brainer. I've made this joke about McFarlane before, but he is the man who will beat a dead horse till he can beat it no further. And he will drag Spawn out and be like, hey, we got new news about the Spawn movie whenever he's trying to hawk something. And then he'll get people to buy, King Spawn or, issue 300 or whatever it may be. And then he'll go and tuck that bad boy back in the fucking closet again to be drug out another day to wring money out of customers. Wolverine's coming. Wolverine is coming. Of all the X-Men that will see the light of day, no matter how much people were upset about that whole period in the early to mid 2000s, where it was they made Wolverine from a supporting character to the most important thing in the X-Men. That happens because he's one of the more interesting characters of the X-Men. Scott's cool, love Scott to death. Scott's boring as fuck. So so you reconfigure the team to make Wolverine more of the lead, even though he's not a lead. He wasn't historically a leader by nature. He was the lone wolf type character. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those no-brainers where it's a copy of this book in 9/8. I mean, you're not most people are priced out of getting reasonable copies of his first appearance. I say that behind his first appearance, this is one of the most important books about Wolverine as a character and defining him and his love affair and the run-in with the Silver Samurai and that whole Japanese legacy that he has about him. This really is one of those, as Nico's always calling out, it's one of those origin stories or a background building story that adds so much value to the character. And don't get me wrong, Spawn is cool. A newsstand copy of Spawn 1 is cool, but it ain't a hard to find book. And this current market and movie hype and speculation is what has suddenly caused this #1 to go from being a $2 book or a $20 9.8 to now being a $1,000 book. If Nico has that disconnect where he just can't see this, see certain books for anything other than what they are, I can't see Spawn 1 for anything other than a $20 to $40 9.8 because that's what it is. They made 1 million of these. 1 million of them. And I'm sorry, Spawn's cool, prominent black, anti-heroes, type of character. But yeah, it ain't special. White Pages, so what? It came out in '91. I don't give a shit. Like, you know, Frank Miller doing what Frank Miller does, and before he got real weird, like, you know, it's a great it's a great book, and at $1,000, you will definitely be able to double your money when we finally get, you know, the Wolverine on Disney Plus finally happens.
Yeah, you know, I totally agree with you, Chris. I mean, like that Wolverine was probably one of the first comics that I ever bought. You know, it's not, you know, the Spawn. It's the history behind that book. You know, you had a guy writing the #1 comic, you know, for Marvel, and then up and takes a team of guys, the best writers. You take Silvestri and Liefeld and Jim Lee, and orchestrated one of the mass exodus from Marvel Comics because they wanted to, you know, keep what they created. So it's kind of the whole story behind that. It's not just the first appearance of Spawn. It's the legacy behind this whole thing. I mean, it's when that book, the electricity that went off when that book hit the newsstands. I mean, and comic shops. Man, I cannot tell you, man. It was just something like you just don't see. People were lining up to buy that book. Yeah, they made millions of them. Like, is there a million 9/8s? I don't know. Is there a million 9/8 newsstand? I don't know. But like, I think me as a collector, that's something that I want both. You know, I think they both add something. What was that? Wolverine was like 1982, and that one's 92. I mean, uh, a lot can happen in 10 years, man. You know. I appreciate the Wolverine for what it is. Frank Miller set it off. I mean, and that was one hell of a 4-part miniseries. But that spawned the history behind that book is kind of what gets me. The just the creating of Image and you know, kind of bringing Marvel down to its knees. You know, it's like, and here we are again. You know, the artists are leaving for this digital whatever. You know, and we were talking the other day about good writing and good artists. You know, staying in one place and you know, kind of building something. But like, you know, until Marvel and DC take care of their writers and artists, I mean. But this is what started it all, you know. You know, creators want to keep what they create, you know.
I hear you.
You know,
One of my favorite comic books in my collection is a Spawn comic that was signed by Al Simmons, McFarlane's buddy, who he used to like drag around with him to sign books, and it's just like I've got an emotional attachment to it that I have for very few comics. What a tough pick. Did anybody else have a horrible time picking like one of these?
Not at all.
Really? Just no affinity for the newsstand?
So again, for transparency purposes, my first purchase ever on eBay, like 16-year-old me, first real money from a job, taking a risk on this PayPal eBay shit, was this book, was all 4 copies of the limited series. Like, it's not even a question for me. It's like it's Wolverine. It's the Frank Miller series. It was what I was told. I was like, yo, like if you want to read quintessential Wolverine stories and what makes him who he is, read this arc. And I was like, I sat there pulling The Simpsons, turning the pages with a goddamn tweezer because I paid $70 for all 4 copies shipped from Canada. Like, I was like, I'm not ruining this comic book. Like, no, it was a no-brainer for me. And also, to put this in perspective, yeah, there are a lot of copies of this Wolverine. In 9/8, there are 3,067 Blue Label non-signature series. Of Spawn 1,
Cool. Watch out.
What's your guess? In
10.
9.8.
10.
It's like 4,000, isn't it?
7,000.
7.
7,000.
Newsstand?
Do they? I don't think they differentiate. Do they?
They don't differentiate because it's not a price variant.
Yeah, it would have to be a price difference for that.
Yeah. So that's 7,000 blue label. Grand total 9.8 in across the board. 10,082.
There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, that's just kind of one of those like you can get one, and there's countless other people. Like when we had McFarlane signing, I managed to find 5 newsstands in the back issue bin at my boy's LCS, and it didn't matter because that was a dollar bin book. He didn't give a shit. He was like, "Yeah, man, enjoy it. Take them shits. Go." You can get 9/8 out of them, and I did, and made a pretty penny off of getting McFarlane to sign them. But I was like, I'm not keeping a single one of these because there are a million of them. You know what I did keep? The Coyote 11s. I kept one of those because that actually matters. Spawn 1 don't matter. Let's be real about it.
Well, and then
so you have zero affinity for the Spawn 1 newsstand. I mean, that's what this all boils down to. But everybody who's like, I had a real fucking hard time. They don't give a fuck about Spawn 1 Directs. Nobody fucking cares about Spawn 1 Directs. No. They just have an affinity for that newsstand variant. That's what this really boils down to, right?
Well, and that was also a time where we were still just bridging that gap where, comic book shops were outnumbering. But I mean, funny enough, though, most of my early comics as a kid were newsstands because I almost always, I didn't start going to comic book shops until I was in late middle school, early high school. All the times I picked up comic books as a kid were from gas stations, on road trips, and shit like that. So they were all newsstands. So that was this ain't nothing special. I mean, I can go pull out a newsstand of damn near everything in my collection because that's 99% of the time when I went to go buy comics, I was with my dad and he was going to pick up smokes. So that's not special.
Yeah. Well, and then one other thing with the Wolverine book, who else is attached to this project? You also have Chris Claremont, Joe Robustein. You have some of the biggest names in comic books, also attached to this project. And then, I mean,
both those books are bitches in 9/8 for the record too. I've tried to sub copy after copy of both of those books. Failed every time. I thought I was finally going to get a 9/8 newsstand of the Wolverine one. I got a 9/6 back. I want to fucking smash it off the corner of a desk and send it back in. I mean, it just drives me insane. It was so close.
See, and this is the issue that you have. I mean, it's 2 different eras. It's like talking about Dr. J versus MJ or MJ versus LeBron. It's 2 different eras, and it's I try and put myself, as that kid that wanted that Wolverine, but then as I got older, when that Image book came out, it was made on a different kind of paper you had never seen before. The artwork was unbelievable. Yeah. I think McFarlane went off, man. It was nothing you had ever seen before. Now you got artists and they're using digital iPads and and all of this. When McFarlane shit first hit, you had never seen artwork like that. This dude was the truth, man. He was, with Spider-Man, he was drawing those webs and you were holy shit. You didn't want to put the book down, man.
Yeah,
I think both these books have major upside too.
So
absolutely.
If you put yourself back in that time in the 90s and you opened up some of these books, you were holy shit.
All right, let's see.
Wait, before you switch off, will you bring an alien on YouTube's comment about that Wolverine is not a key up to the forefront? I want to speak on that for a minute.
Okay. Hold on.
People got hard opinions about that kind of stuff. That's silly.
That is a key.
So, in my opinion, this is some bullshit. This is Wolverine's first solo series, and if you've actually read this miniseries, it defines Wolverine as Wolverine. This is his whole entire time in what culminated in the events in Japan and the run-in with the Silver Samurai and that whole family.
To that point, is there anybody on the panel that doesn't have Frank Miller's Wolverine miniseries in trade paperback form?
I even have the old school one.
Now come the fuck on. Do we look like trade paperback hoarders? Get the fuck out of here. You know, but like we all have it because it's like classic literature.
Yeah, like in the same way that you hand somebody the Killing Joke and you go, you want to know like what a good Batman story is? Go read this. Like I keep that on lock for that reason.
Issue 2 has a first appearance.
Yeah.
Probably an undervalued book, to be honest.
You know, that was Frank Miller at his best, man. I mean, when he touched Batman, look what he did. He created a cultural phenomenon with The Dark Knight.
And I mean,
he did Daredevil. And
if I'm a betting man, both of these books will double within the next 2 years.
I would say, you know, there, like you guys were saying, there's no wrong answer here. There's really not. It's really just a personal preference thing. But when it comes to options or movies or whatever, how many movies has Wolverine been in now?
Jesus Christ.
I mean, is it more than 12? Or I don't know.
Yeah, but
8 to 12. You know, Spawn's been in one that was, even Spawn fans thought it pretty much sucked. I don't think Spawn does not need movie spec. Spawn could never be in any movie or any series, and his books will still go up. People will still hunt the black variant.
Yeah, and that 1 in 100 is not a good number according to the guy. Who's the Spawn guy? Spawn World.
Oh yeah, you interviewed him, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
He's the fucking truth when it comes to like Spawn. You just got to go to that dude's website. If you're even like remotely a fan, Homeboy is like just a wealth of knowledge and
the Spawn encyclopedia.
Yeah, dude. He's serious business.
Nico,
it's like a parabola, but like he was like, look, it's not perfect, but like I get why people say that. So, you know, like I get like that's sort of like a thing, but it's kind of a demonstration that even he'll admit there's a substantial rarity for these newsstands. Frankly, as much as I like a one newsstand, the one that I regret, and I've had a ton of one newsstands selling, is the last one. It's like 132 or 36 or whatever. It's like a purple cover with Swan's got his arm over his head. That one's a pain in the ass. Yeah, but I just grab Spawn newsstands out of dollar bins, and if you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table.
And before we move on, I just want to announce the results of the poll. We had 75% choose Wolverine #1.
Wow.
Over the 24% that chose the Spawn #1 newsstand. But let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So we have Spawn #9 newsstand, CGC 9.8, that sold for $1,900, versus a NYX #3 CGC 9.8 that sold for $2,100. So hold up your sign for Spawn #9 newsstand or NYX #3 with the Modern Playbook. So hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Let's see. I think Nime says what? Flipside? Oh, Playbook. All right. So I'll go with Ninth Wonder, and then we'll go with Nico.
Wait, I said Modern Playbook too.
You said Modern Playbook too? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll go with who haven't we heard from in a while? We'll go with Tony.
We just heard from Tony, just like a second ago.
Did we? All right. Then we'll go with you, Joe.
Play back. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll go with you, Joe.
I was just playing.
All right. Either or.
Go for it, Tony.
All right, what do I got? Angela? I don't know. You know, I love I love X-23. I hope that they, as that actress, I don't know what her name is. I hope they can get her back in the MCU once the mutants are part of the crew as kind of a young adult version of the character. I'd love to see like an X-23 and Honey Badger series, almost like following their, just like a 6-issue or 6-episode series. I love that book. I bought into that book early and made some decent money on that book. But I am going with the Angela. The whole the whole drama behind this book gives it a lot more value for me. Again, we're talking about newsstand by the time issue 9 hadn't dropped off insanely, versus issue 1 through 4, right? I mean, it wasn't anywhere near issue 1, but we see issue 9 everywhere. We always have. It was a $2 book probably for ages and ages, but now that these newsstand variants of the Image books have become a premium, this one being a white cover that is not an easy 9.8, unfortunately. A lot of people strike out with this one, but I just love the Neil Gaiman coming in, writing an issue, introducing a character for this brand new publishing company where if you create a character, the character belongs to you, and then actually fighting in court the guy who made that rule a thing, and then winning, and then selling it back to his rival, having Angela be able to show up in the MCU now. It's a great story. I love Neil Gaiman anyways, but no, I got to pick that book, man. I don't know. Scarcity, the story behind it. Again, nostalgia played, 90s, great cover. I don't know. There's great arguments on the other side, though. What do you got? Who was it?
You're up, Ninth.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of either of these books. I just feel like, speculation-wise, both of these characters are so far off, and I couldn't see them having a big role in the MCU. I'm a huge believer in Wolverine, and I'm a huge believer in characters branching off of certain trees, and X-23 is a branch off of the Wolverine tree, so I think that automatically give her edge in regards to popularity, because she's going to be associated with Wolverine. And when we do see Wolverine in the MCU, I was going to say this about the last book. Originally, I had picked that Spawn newsstand, but I thought about it really quick, and I was like, nah, that Wolverine, if I can get both of those for $1,000, that Wolverine is going to skyrocket once people see him in the MCU. And then from there, when people get priced out of all the Wolverine books, and you're going to start specking on, characters affiliated with Wolverine. And even though this book is so far gone, it's not an affordable book for most people at all. I feel like if you can still find a copy somewhere, somehow at a good price, that down the road you will still see, a good return on your investment. But I kind of feel like both of these books are already kind of capped out, like I don't see them going too much higher than where they're at right now.
The only thing I say that NYX is like, I can't see it going down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think neither one of them will go down, but I don't see them going too far up either. I just see it staying like within a certain price range and kind of bouncing back and forth based on what's going on.
Yeah, I think your analysis is spot on. I mean, there's maybe a little room on the NYX3. I mean, maybe it hits 3K if there's like a solid rumor. I remember when that Spawn 9 newsstand sold for $2,000 for the first time. The 9.8 was like 2 years ago. Somebody bought it and then was like, hey, I bought this. What do you guys think? On the CGC boards. And they fucking roasted her. And, who's laughing now? I mean, she was spot on with the price. It was like, a buy like for her PC. I forget the name of the collector, who's by no stretch of the imagination like a rookie or whatever. Like Chris with his 9.8. Yeah, I mean, they're both fucking great books, but it was more of like a PC pick. And I think Tony's insights about the history behind Spawn 9 are certainly awesome for us comic nerds who like to know that kind of stuff. Yeah. You guys are gonna get me in trouble. I keep playing this game. I'm gonna end up fucking spending money I should be spending elsewhere.
Yeah. So I will throw in one thing about, and the funny is, I chose to spawn 9 because of the fact that like I love Angela as a character, and like this is a lose-lose, win-win situation in both scenarios. Is that, I mean, if you got both of these books, you're good. But like, let's be real about it though. Like, Marvel's not going back to the X-23 well anytime soon, because there's a big difference between X-23 and Wolverine. You can go back to Wolverine. Everybody's going to be like, the X-Men, yay! Like, you just can't necessarily go to X-23 back again, because people are like, oh, didn't we just see her? Like, she hasn't cemented herself as one of those characters where it's like nobody's going to care. It's like a Spider-Man, where like you can just keep going back to the Spider-Man well and just remixing them every 5 years, and people are just going to be like, Spider-Man, yay! Like, it's like he's one of those characters where it's like they're just not going to care. They're just going to be happy to see him on screen. X-23 just hasn't earned that goodwill quite yet.
Isn't she a little dark for current Marvel too? X-23.
I mean, you just pull punches and don't show a lot of blood. You're fine. I mean, they didn't show blood with Wolverine for.
Well, I mean, like with the I mean,
Yeah,
like, you know, she's basically like
a child prostitute.
Yeah, I think you're talking about that her background.
Yeah, no.
Well, you can
They
work around
disregarded
that.
all
You
that.
can work around that.
Yeah, in the first movie with her, they disregarded all of that. They made her into a child soldier, which was way more acceptable than a child prostitute. So yeah, they can fix that. That ain't a problem. But the one thing that Tony failed to mention about Angela, and yeah, it's a great story of somebody sticking it to the person who tried to screw them over with their own, like, you know, legalese, is that what she is in Marvel now is like an unknown, like a long lost sister to Thor. We already saw that storyline. Like that's going to feel real pedantic if they just, if at any point in the next 3 years they bring her in. I mean, they can probably make it work, but you have to make a little joke about it. Dad got around, whatever. Like, you got to play something funny, because people are going to be like, wait a minute, didn't we just hear this storyline with the evil unknown sister from like 2 movies ago? Like, what's going on here? So that's what I'm saying.
Say, Chris, I think you're right on that. And I think if they do bring her in, they don't bring her in as the sister. I think they bring her in. Honestly, I'll make a little mini prediction. I think they bring her in as a Valkyrie. And
well, remember there was a rumor that they were going to use her as the love interest for Valkyrie.
Yes.
Remember that was like a suggestion maybe a year or 2 ago, and then her book started to pop.
I just don't want to lose her as Thor's sister, because like the storylines that involved her popping in the Guardians, it was good work with her as Thor's long lost sister. It just sucks that like we've already played the Thor's long lost sister storyline once before. So again, they can do it. Like, there's great writers over at Marvel. They can make a joke about it. Papa was a Rolling Stone, you know, like in the same way that, like, you know, when Loki, you know, they're like, you know, he's my brother. He killed a bunch of innocent people. He's adopted. Like, they can play a joke around that to make it like, you know, okay, yeah, we know we just played this story again. Yeah. Let me guess, you're my half sister also with some random person on the street. At this point, everybody's related to me. Like, if they play it for jokes and keep it moving, people will get over it. But I just don't see either one of these characters happening anytime soon. So I just feel like I feel like the Angela play, if you're just buying a rare, hard to find book that's worth what it is because of its rarity, unlike a Spawn 1, the Angela makes more sense. Case in point, I just held up an X-23. Like, somebody was more than willing to give me this and money for an FF48 3.5. A 3.5. They gave me this book and money. Like, that shows you what people really value this book at. Like, somebody was like, wait a minute, you're willing to give me what for it? Hell yeah, I'll take that in a heartbeat. Like I don't think I would have gotten that Angela book out of somebody's hands offering them an FF48. Like, realistically, I think that person would have been like, I might need a little more on that trade.
Yeah. So before we move on, I just want to announce the results from the poll. 74% of the audience chose NYX3. over the 25% that chose the Spawn number 9
For
with
shame.
43 votes.
Dude,
So,
I freaking love this show.
well, and then one thing I
It
also want
makes
to
me
mention.
so happy. Every time I watch it, it makes me happy.
And then one other thing I want to mention is the price disparity between a direct Spawn number 9 versus
Oh,
the
yeah.
newsstand. So,
Hell yeah.
so a direct version will only cost you $200 versus this $1,900. And like,
Yeah.
there's multiple cases of like floating around that 2,000 for the newsstand.
Yeah, a tenth of the value.
Hold on. Ironically, doesn't CGC have a separate census for the 9 newsstand? I thought it was like one that wasn't a price variant that they were creating a census for, but I might have imagined that.
Let me check real quick.
Let's see.
You
Nine.
probably go to.
There is a separate entry on the 9.
Your
the
buddy
newsstand.
Nico's a fucking sicko. Don't ever forget it. These are weird things that go on in my brain. I
Hey,
apologize.
is that?
Oh yeah, they do market different, but I don't know if there's a price difference.
No.
And
No.
funny story that, God, I love, like, I'm a little bit of a data nerd at times. It's 1/10 of the value for the direct edition. There are 1/10 of the copies graded of the newsstand. So it is a direct ratio of like, hey, this is a 1/10 more. This is a 10 times more rare book. We're going to pay you 10 times the money. Ouch.
All right.
Hey,
Let's go ahead and move on.
Wolverine
I think-
number 80, the test tube moving as well? I mean, is that going up?
I doubt it. I hope not.
I mean,
Dear
that's is that
I
the
think it
first
went back-
appearance?
I think that went back down in price, like
Thank
back to
God.
like yeah,
Jesus
because
Christ.
like what it hit like what $20 at one
Stuff
point
right
in
there.
time. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. All right. I think I have 2 more sets of books, but here's the next set. We have the Incredible Hulk 181 CGC 3.0 that sold for $2,950 with free shipping, versus a Journey into Mystery number 84 4.5 that sold for $3,003. So for those Hulk 181s, hold up the Flipside sign. For the Journey into Mystery, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol. 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Let's go with Chris and Nico.
I think we picked the same book.
Yeah,
oh,
we did.
yeah, you did. Okay. Then let's go with Red Hood.
And I guess I'll stay in. So I'll pop this out. First, for clarification, 84, First Jane Foster.
Whew.
So
Bring 'em
yeah,
out.
so if that's First Jane Foster, yeah, that's kind of a. If she remains Thor empowered past this next movie, yeah, like that's just kind of a. She's part of that new Avengers team that they seem to be, that all new, all different, Avengers team they seem to be piecing together. I mean, yeah, we're talking Silver Age. We're talking even at a 4.5, a generally rare book. Whereas I've had so many copies of Hulk 181. I'm not trying to be that guy. There's 2 sitting in this box right now. I've shown them on the show. One's a 9.4, one's a 9.6. I've had a 9.0, 9.2, 8.5. Like, it ain't a hard book to get your hands on. If you bought before the market blew up, you could have got, like, my 7.0 cost me $2,700 raw. And that was like 2 years ago. Like like this market changed things, but like I bought a raw 7.0. Shout outs to A1 Comics in Sacramento. I bought it from their booth, $2,700 at San Diego Comic-Con, grade out to a 7.0 white pages. So no, I'm not giving you 3 G's for a 3.0. Like, yeah, I know people are waiting in the wings for Wolverine to come. But also, too, there's a certain thing known as a breaking point when it comes to graded money. Like, there's a certain break point where it's like, these books aren't really worth that. And the market is slowly kind of like readjusting to the fact that like below a certain point, people are starting to realize that like the market got like super inflated and they're bouncing back out again. I think anything honestly below a 5.0 in a Hulk 181 is below that break point. And you should just save up and buy you a better copy. Like Nikos has said many a time on Tales from Flipside, buy the best example that you can in a book. Don't buy these low grade books because you are fighting with everybody at the bottom of the rung trying to sell your low ass grade book. Whereas with this Journey into Mystery 84, you've got the whole Jane Foster thing going for you. Yeah, it's a 4.5, but that's a 4.5 white pages, I want to say. And like you're hard pressed to find like those, those Thor books in high grade. Those Journey into Mystery are hard to find in anything over like a 5.0 or 6.0 for reasonable money, because we didn't know how to take care of comics back in the 60s. We knew how to take care of comics in 74. There are plenty good examples of Hulk 181 floating around out there. So that's my argument, at least for the moment.
No, I picked this one because I don't have the second appearance of Wolverine, so I wanted to.
Wow. Okay.
No, I'm just playing. I saw. Never mind.
Shots fired.
No, I'm
Shots
just kidding.
fired.
I'm just kidding. Like honestly, I had to make a pick, but I wouldn't buy either one of these. I mean, the 4.5 I probably would. I mean, if I had to pick, but I went with the damn Hulk because I mean, whatever. But like a 3.0 for $3,000, man, nah, hell nah.
That's an expensive stamp.
I think
no.
I think I sold a 7.0 for like 2,300 cash right before COVID.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Like
Right.
no fucks to give. You know what I
Damn.
mean?
Like,
I would have bought that from you.
I would take that money and buy 9.8 or something like before I buy a 3.0, man.
I think paid like $500 for a Journey into Mystery 84 about that same time. That's about in this shape, so it all kind of evens out. You know
honestly,
what I mean?
honestly, I think Chris makes the best point. People did not know how to take care of their comic books in the 60s. They knew how, because conventions started up in the like 1970, and they started using some polypropylene and baggies for the comic books. So there was an idea that, hey, we need to start taking care of these. I think that's the best point. So like if you're looking to buy a low grade of something, make sure it's in the silver and golden age. Like when you get to the bronze, like man, nah.
Yeah.
You know what though, guys? Honestly, this book is an outlier though. This is, and I know you guys have been dealing in books for a while. Have seen this come and go. It's not a big deal. For a lot of collections, this is a fucking big deal. There's 141 of these in 9.8 out there. Whether it should be or shouldn't be, within the next 2-3 years, we're gonna see like a fucking $250,000 sale on a 9.8.
Probably,
and that's going to change the game on all the lower grades.
Here's the thing. The problem with Hulk 181 right now is that the bottom has risen, right?
Right.
It's the entry-level copies that are just over fucking priced. Hate me if you want. The top has not popped. I think all the opportunity for Hulk 180 and 181 is at the top, not at the bottom.
Let's go ahead, Nick.
When me and Aaron were at Fan Expo this past weekend, one thing that we both kind of said to each other was like, man, it's a lot of 181s at this convention.
Always are.
All the motherfuckers, excuse my French, all of them was overpriced. All of them was overpriced.
Yeah.
Are they low grade or mid grade or high grade or all grades?
I want to say the lowest grade we saw there was probably like what, a 7.0 or something like that.
Wow.
And then
like 7.0.
I mean, we were in Dallas, so I mean, there's a lot of comic dealers and a lot of people traveling through. And then
a lot over 9.0.
I think we might have seen like maybe one over a 9.0, like maybe one.
It might have been one that was exactly a 9.0.
And I think
it was like a 9.0.
And I want to say that booth had nothing but slabs at that booth. And it was over 20K, I want to say.
I mean, what we're really seeing right now is the effect of this last year's market where everybody's just like grade everything. I have been bad about it myself, but it's like the shit sells. Like it just turned into a grade everything. No, before 2020, nobody would have bothered grading a 3.0 for the most part. Like, you would have walked up to somebody's booth being like, I got a 3.0 Hulk 181 I want to sell to you. They would have been like, I'm good. Like A1 Comics sold me in 2018, 2019, sold me a raw copy that graded out to a 7.0. Like, it's just, what's happened is that this market caused everybody to be like, yo, grade everything because somebody will buy it.
Yeah, Chris, and the 7.0 that I sold, I bought raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm not trying to talk about sustainability of the market, blah, blah, and all that good stuff. I just think your money's better invested in trying to get you the best example you can, and just going out there and buying the 3.0 just to have one is, and I get it, like people were saying in the comments, like, start low, low grade's better than no grade, but like be patient, look around, check Facebook Marketplace. You could probably find you a 4.5 or a 5.0 for what this person just paid for a 3.0 if you got cash in hand and you're not dealing on eBay, because this person inflated their price, or these bids are, it's less like the price inflation, but the bidding situation is like causing attention. People just don't want to lose out on a book, yada, yada, whatever. But if you showed up to somebody's booth and you're like, yo, I've got, 3G's cash, what you trying to do on that 4.5? I seriously think that you might be able to walk away with their book. Like, let's be real about it. So I'm just saying, like, I don't want to see people wasting their money on these low copies when, like, you are below the average grade of this comic at that point.
Yeah, and to Ninth's point, I do not see Journey into Mystery 84. I look for copies of that book. I love that book. I've got 2. Yeah. You just can't even buy them. There's like not opportunities to buy it. It drives me freaking nuts. I see more copies of 83 and 85 than I do 84. I don't know where the hell they are.
Yeah. And the reason why I was looking at all these other different booths was I brought my Something is Killing the Children number 8 to call variant to trade for something, like as in an older book. I looked at an X-Men number 4. I looked at an ASM 121, and then it was just kind of like, I don't really care for like the condition of those specific books. Like that 2.0 of the X-Men 4 didn't present very well, and then that 121 had writing on the back, and it was like a 9.2 or something like that. And I was just like, kind of like, I'd rather just hold on to the call and see where that goes. So
hey, Comic Boom said that Bronze Age titles, high grades are not that common, and few collectors bagged and boarded in the 70s and 80s. Well, I worked at my uncle's comic shop from 1982 to 96, 97. So in 1982, I was bagging and boarding like a mother, man, and I hated it because I was a kid, and that's what you did all summer was bag and board. So I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, I was there. I bagged and board comics. People took care of their comic books.
All right. And then it looks like 57% chose the Hulk 181. And
God, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and 35 people voted. But let's move on. I think I have. Go ahead.
One quick thing I wanted to throw in is that I kind of understand why people buy low grade books, because you think, okay, well, I want this book, I can't afford a 9.0. Oh, let me buy a 3.0, and then I can save up money to get a 9.0. Plus, I can take the 3.0, and hopefully that'll go up in value by the time that I'm ready to buy a 9.0. And that's fine buying a low grade thinking, well, it's still going to go up in value. It's going to move with the higher grade books. But if you're buying a low grade book to save up for a high grade book, you're kind of hustling backwards, because the same way that 3.0 going up, that 9.0 is going up, and it's going up at an even faster rate. And one thing I always talk about is opportunity cost. If you take that 3,000 and you buy this 3.0, think about what else you could do with that 3,000, where you can 10x your money, and then you can take the money from that and go buy you a 181 9.0. to me, the best hustle right now is taking Modern, flipping that, and then going back to buy, your gold, your silver, your bronze. Because Aaron can attest to this at the show that we went to this past Saturday. I made like two quick deals back to back, and in my opinion, I won both of those deals because the books I traded on for them, I had really low buy-in, and the books that I got back for them were at least, in my opinion, equal value, if not more valuable than the book that I traded for. Plus, I got cash back in my hand both times, and I was able to take some of that cash and get those books that I bought at the con. I was able to get them graded at the con at the same time. So opportunity cost is a huge thing that nobody talks about in comic book collecting, but it's a real thing. Like in other forms of investment, opportunity cost is a huge, is a huge thing. So I
Right.
just think that those are the type of conversations that we need to have more, doing things that make sense and not just being so impulsive with your buying power.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I gotta say, I gotta go back to it though. 181 is an outlier, man. It doesn't follow the rules of any other comic
Well,
out there.
except the thing, it
Like a
did follow the
Jordan
rules.
rookie card. A Jordan rookie card and a PSA 3 is a $3,000 card. There are a shit ton of them out there. Nobody's buying a Jordan rookie card to flip next year. They're buying that to hold on to for a long time. And I'm sorry, but even at 3,000, that's going to be a good investment.
So here, let me throw this out there before we switch up. Is that until last year when the market went crazy, it did follow the rules. So I bought mine. For example, my 9.4. I bought my 9.4 at, I want to say, like 8 or 9 G's in the middle of COVID last year when things were starting to uptick. But if you go back to, I bought it for 8,500. So if you go back to and look at the CDC census, at a 9.4, the book was pretty much consistently picking up steam. Like once we started getting into like X-Men movie range or after the X-Men movie range and stuff like that, you didn't start really seeing this book pick up steam until like 2014, 2015. But even still, you could have got you a copy for like anywhere from
absolutely.
$8,000 to $9,000 before November of last year. And then November of last year, it went from a $9,000 book to a $21,000 book, and that's where it's living now. So I'm just saying, don't let this last year's market cause you to make poor decisions with your money. It may never go back to being a $9,000 book again, but it damn sure, because we still probably got at least a good 2, maybe 3 years before we really get the X-Men in the MCU, hopefully. You might be able to get you a more reasonable copy. Save your money. Like Nico said, it's not continuing to skyrocket at the upper end. Knife said, save your money. Save up. Buy the better copy. Don't waste your money on the 3L because that's not going to hold value.
Well, they've already come down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. GSX 1, Hulk 181, Hulk 180, X-Men 1. They haven't
X-Men
come
94.
fucking back, X-Men 94, to pre-COVID prices. They ain't coming back to pre-COVID prices. But thank God, because I was getting a little nervous that we were all in trouble. They did come back down to earth, and that means there'll be less liquidity, and you might be able to grab, a deal, particularly when you got cash in hand. They're both awesome books. Sorry for belaboring the.
Yeah, no worries. Let's go ahead and move on to our last set of books, and I don't feel very worried about having to shave my head yet. Oh, I have 2 more sets. Excuse me. So we have a ASM number 4185 that sold for $2,650 versus a Ultimate Fallout 4 CGC 98 that sold for $2,600.
Is that the facsimile?
It is. I don't see that. I don't see that red barcode on the top left corner. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. Fair question though, right? All right. So for first Rhino, hold up the Flipside sign. For first Miles, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol. 3, 2, 1.
God.
All right, so let's go with Nico and Chris.
Shall I?
Yeah, go for it.
Ultimate Fallout 4 is the product of fucking price manipulation for all of you fucking crybabies.
Wow,
who
okay.
Scream and yell about fucking price manipulation, price manipulation, price manipulation. This was the book that started it all. Are you fucking kidding me? It was fake sales during COVID. They were confirmed by real sales after the fact. Fuck Mel, my dear friend, spent $3,000 on this book.
Jesus.
It's a $2,500 book. All right. And this is the price that before the COVID craziness, we all would have given our left fucking hand to sell these incredibly common, although fucking cool, comics at if, God willing, we got a live action iteration of America's favorite superhero, Miles Morales. I realized at Cincinnati Comic Con when I saw the kids cosplaying as Miles and they had gym shorts on and not their dongs hanging out. Why? One more fucking reason why I love Miles Morales. Contrarily, the only Silver Age Spidey villain who isn't unattainable is Rhino. It's the only one. He's the only one that hasn't gone fucking parabolic into the stratosphere. And I don't know if we'll ever get a live action version of the Rhino. I don't know if we'll have to wait until Miles to get a live action version of the Rhino. But that book is a smart fucking buy in high grade. It just is. It's got room to go. You can all hate me for saying the truth. No. I like Paul Giamatti. I love Billions, but his Rhino was silly. Anyway, you can all hate me for saying it, but what I said is the fucking truth. I said it.
Yeah. So basically, Doc Joe summed up a large portion of my argument. Worst villain ever, though. And that's the reason why he's undervalued. Nobody likes the fucking Rhino. Like in comics, in the one live action iteration, like, I mean, the only time I ever enjoyed an Alexi story was when they shrunk him and handed him to Deadpool during the fucking like tail end of the Gail Simone run. Like, I'm sorry, but he is a terrible character. And so I don't want to poo-poo on like the great Silver Age Spider-Man, iconography and things of that nature. But like, he's bad. He's a bad character. And like banking on villains, yeah, like we're talking about one of those early, and he's not even one of that like first 10 issue run of Spider-Man villains either. Like it's one thing we're talking about like Electro or the Lizard or somebody where it's like first appearance of Electro, also Spider-Man's like fourth appearance. Like, when you've got that going for you, it's a different story. Once you get into like 41, it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's cool, it's old, and it's a first appearance. But like, what's the long-term spec value? And it's a villain. It's a villain, and even if they do feature him, and he does survive his live screen appearance like the Vulture did, it's just not going to move the needle, I don't think, exponentially for this character. And yeah, I really wish that we could say that this Miles book is overpriced and market manipulation, things like that. But like, that might have been the case. But let's be real about it. Like, Miles is going to get his day in the sun, and a lot sooner than we all probably think. Like, I'm not saying that, we're going to necessarily the end credit scene of like, mom yelling, Miles, come watch up for dinner or something like that. But if it does happen, like,
Woof.
yeah,
Woof.
it's a $5,000 book. It's a $5,000 book.
Boom.
Can I ask you guys one serious question? Do you think
No.
Marvel's committed to ruining this particular comic? I mean, what are they doing? I mean, why do they hate Miles Morales? I mean, that goofy facsimile with the red Marvel symbol, the fact that they allow 35 store variants, the stupid Flashdance costume that they have him in now. Like, what the fuck did Miles Morales ever do to Marvel Comics?
Yeah,
what did Miles fans do to Marvel? Like,
it's
what is
feeling
with
real
that?
1996 right now. I definitely will say it's feeling real 1996, where it's like, let's fuck with Spider-Man. Let's give him a new costume that nobody likes. Like, like it's feeling real like we're reaching for. And I mean, maybe even bad publicity is still publicity in Marvel's eyes. Maybe it's like, like they can't do the normal things they do with characters when they're about to introduce them into the MCU. Because like the normal formula when a character is about to be featured in the MCU is either a costume change, new series if they're not currently in a series, video game tie-in of some sort. And they've already hit most of those keys with Miles, so they're just like, oh, costume change. Like re-releasing your first appearance. Like, let's do those things. And yeah, they're throwing shit at the wall.
If I worked for Marvel and I was in charge of Miles's costume, I'd put him in a black suit.
Yeah. Knife, you had a point?
Done. And like
throwing
gasoline on a fire, bro.
In regards to Miles's new costume, it reminded me of something my grandmother used to always tell me. How can I miss you if you never go away? This is old school psychology. You take him out the old suit, put him in a new suit that everybody universally hates. So when you put him in the movie and he's in his old suit, it's like, oh my God, he's in the freaking old suit and everybody is happy. At a certain point, they will bring that old suit back, the classic suit back to comic books. Look at all the different suits that Spider-Man has had.
Yeah, true.
So
Sorry.
this is just a way to drum up hype and publicity about Miles, while he's pretty much stuck in a holding pattern right now. You don't want to do too much with him. You don't want to do too little with him because you already know that you have a successful character. You already know it's money waited to be printed with this character. And my last thing about the new costume is this. I don't think it's a bad costume. I think that a lot of the artists that we've seen draw it so far haven't done a good job at portraying it. I picked up this second print today, and I think the new costume looks a lot better in the artwork in this second print than it does in any of the store exclusives that I've seen them in, or anything of that nature.
But it looks like a Scarlet Spider. You know?
It kind of looks like a scarlet spider. But like I said, long term, I don't think that they are gonna keep him in that suit for too long. He's just coming out of the Clone Saga, and they needed something to do with Miles. As far as Ultimate Fallout 4, I asked the question today. I said, you can go and buy that Riri Williams Invincible Iron Man #9 Horseman of Apocalypse variant for what is it going 5-6K now. I said for
I'm glad you brought that up.
I said for less
that's
than
our
that,
next set.
You can go buy the Ultimate Fallout 4 first print, second print, and second print variant for what? For less than $4,800, probably for less than $4,500. So, in my opinion, a lot of people say Miles's books are overpriced. I really don't think they are overpriced for an uncontested first appearance. Like it's not like a 181 situation. Like this is hands down his first appearance. Like it's no debate about it, and we know this guy is gonna come up in film sooner rather than later. And he has his own video game. How many Marvel superheroes have their own video game?
And it's featured in a sequel.
That are memorable. Yeah.
To answer your question, though, Nico, I think in the next few years, we're going to see a lot of weird shit with Miles. And I think that's kind of by design. I mean, if he's going to have a trilogy of Spider-Man movies, if they started it next year, like Peter Parker has decades of stories to pull from. Miles does not. I mean, how many beloved Miles story arcs are there out there? I mean, there's some good ones, but it's in their best interest to let writers and artists do whatever the fuck they want to do with them for the next decade. Just
I mean, I get it. Look,
every year.
I got an Ultimate Fallout 4 behind me too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't keep any other fucking book up here.
Yeah, but also too at the same time,
I mean, I get it, guys. Like, But at the same point, like nobody will talk about it. We talk about all these fake sales and this, that, and the other. I mean, come the fuck on. That the ultimate Fallout 4 was the product of fucking fake sales. And it was confirmed by real sales. 100% was. It's an awesome book that was undervalued forever. But we all know there's long boxes of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We all know motherfuckers who have long boxes of them, and that was the same spiel that Look, that's why I don't have a short box of Hulk 181s. It's because I believed in that shit. I'm like, well, we know how many fucking Hulk 181s there are out there, and I didn't buy them. And people, the powers that be, couldn't fucking wait for this book. They just juiced it up.
So the reason why
I prefer the high grade silver.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I have 3 copies of this book in 9.8 is because I believe in Miles, and I didn't start believing in Miles really, like, to be absolutely honest with you, because I was like, his stories are kind of weak generally, until I, again, as I keep saying, separated myself as a comic book fan and started looking at things more as what can you do with this character in the hands of amazing writers. And what Lord and Miller, because like when we all heard they were making an Into the Spider-Verse movie and it was going to be featuring Miles Morales, we're like, okay, it's cartoon, big whoop. What they did with that story is arguably one of the best Spider-Man stories and movies ever made.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, like Uncle Aaron Prowler was a dick in the comics. You felt it when he died. Like the soundtrack, the animation, the coming of age story, it coinciding with the death of Stan Lee and the line, it always fits eventually. Like I'm getting a little misty eyed right now just thinking about it. Like it really is one of those stories that's like, man, I really care about seeing more in this universe with Miles and what that story can potentially lead to for us. And for that reason, like this is just a no-brainer. Like he is a generation Spider-Man. I know little kids that when they say Spider-Man, they don't mean Peter Parker. And I know that's going to make a lot of people in the comments angry, but hey,
let them cry about it.
That's just, like it. Peter has never been shown in live action or even in animation to really like grip you and have such a like heart-wrenching story that makes you just fall in love with a character. Like an experience that you're like, know what? I just feel like throwing that on and watching
Gwen Stacy died, right?
I wasn't alive when Gwen Stacy died.
Yeah, but didn't you read that when you were a little kid? I was like, I grew up on that fucking story.
No, because I'm 35 years old.
And they rewrote it.
Wow. No, as a 35-year-old,
right.
I watched Spider-Man, the animated series. And so, like, Gwen Stacy who for a greater part, as an 80s kid and a 90s kid, like, it was Gwen Stacy who because it was Mary Jane, Mary Jane, Mary Jane. So even before Spider-Man, the animated series, it's like, even if you pick up a Spider-Man comic, like, it's Mary Jane. Like, Gwen Stacy had been dead for 20 years. So... yeah, like it just wasn't the same.
Can I say something real quick?
No, go for it, man.
So, like, Miles Morales is the first comic book character I've ever seen that's an influencer. You know what I mean? Like, you could put clothing on him and he could sell it. Shoes.
I mean,
you
yeah,
could
look at
drop
his shoes.
the new Jordans and put them on his feet in a comic book, and everybody would want them. I'm just telling you.
Well,
this is on another level that, like, I don't think we've ever seen before with this character. I mean,
they did that for the Into the Spider-Verse.
Well,
they did the exact coloring from the movie. Dropped the shoes like 2 months later, and it went bazonkers.
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, so like they put him in jeans. They put, he could be wearing a backpack, and like, oh, that's a backpack Miles had. Like,
it's wintertime.
bro.
It's wintertime coming up, so I mean, I'm
Miles
sure we'll see
the fall collection from Miles Morales.
Well, I'm sure we'll see like the new hoodie, right? But before we keep you too late, I have one more set of books. I know it's kind of late for some of y'all on the East Coast. but let's go ahead and power through it.
Drink a
Knife,
Red Bull.
yeah. Knife kind of like hinted at it, but we have an Invincible versus Invincible.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people were watching the Invincible Iron Man #9 that was on auction for like I think like a week or a little bit more. Because it was stuck at like $3K for a couple days, but it actually ended at $5,950.98. Versus Invincible #1, CGC 9.8 that sold for $5,999.
Damn.
So,
Damn.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I had to save the best for last, right? Invincible versus Invincible.
Fuck.
And then, so for Kirkman's Invincible, hold up the Flipside logo. For Invincible AOA, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol. So in 3, 2, 1. All right,
I
let's
sold
go.
way too soon.
Let's go with Ninth Wonder and Joe, and then we'll open the floor.
Go for it, Knife.
No, you got it, Joe.
No, man. You know, if Knife is picking this, there must be something going on.
Flip a coin, see who goes first.
I'll go first, man. Look, Joe already know. I rock with Riri. I rock with Miles. I rock with Marvel in general. But Invincible, man, that show is different. I'm in the hip hop group with dudes that do not give a flying what about comic books, and they love Invincible. They know I read comic books, so they like quick because Streets I go by my last name. Quick. What's the easiest way for me to read Invincible? I'm like, go get the compendiums. They're like, what's a compendium? Explain it to them. They're like, all right. They look up the price. Damn, that's kind of high. I'm like, you spend that on shoes weekly. Yeah, you right. Now they posting books. Oh man, Battle Beast, that dude. Like, if this wasn't an animated show, and I know it's animated right now, but since the show is doing so well, I say if Kirkman they could do like maybe 3 or 4 seasons, maybe 5, because it's so much material. If they play it just right, they can stop at the animated and then eventually do live action, which is gonna hit even harder. And the good thing that Invincible has going for it, it's not tied to a greater universe. So they only have to coordinate for Invincible. With Riri, she's tied into the MCU. So her growth as a character is only going to grow as much as the MCU has. The MCU, like anything else, is in a bubble. And one day that bubble is going to pop, and Disney's going to have to figure out how to, rebuild that. But with Invincible, I think it can be one of those. It can be one of those properties that sticks around for a very long time. Of course, this is all contingent on how Kirkman and whoever he gets in the bed with or stays in the bed with on this individual property handles it. But I feel like there's a lot of potential for Invincible. Just as far as one book versus another, we already know that Invincible #1 is a pretty hard book to find. This Invincible Iron Man, variant, I have my doubts about it. At the show, me and Aaron were just at. He saw a copy for $300, $300.
300 raw. But
yeah,
I didn't look closely at the condition.
Yeah, but I'm pretty
see.
sure a modern book like that, it's not going to be too bad off. And if it was at that one stand that the Kanan second print was there, right?
Yes.
And,
so I mean,
it looked pretty good.
I mean, yeah. To be honest, like it wouldn't surprise me if they, had it in one of their many of long boxes that didn't have a bag and board in it, and then someone was thumbing through it and they found it. So that's why I know how bad the color rub can get on the back of the book. I've had a copy and I've sold it.
A $6,000 book, man.
But I mean,
I took a 9.0 in that all day.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like when you drop down to a 9.6, it drops down to like $2K, which is still amazing. which is
Yeah.
still amazing. But like,
Yeah, it don't make
there's just
no
no
sense.
telling what condition that book could have hit. Like, to
Yeah.
be
So,
completely honest,
there's only one reason why you see an expensive raw book like that is because there's something wrong with it.
because they tried grading themselves because they had graded books also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or everybody not in the loop, man. Everybody's not in the loop.
So
It's
get things with this book. So hello, can y'all hear me?
Yep, we hear
Yep.
you.
Okay,
going in and out.
I felt like I was lagging. I know that Invincible is tough to find. I would love to have it, but then I would also love to have this Invincible Iron Man. It was like kind of, you know, take your pick. I mean, I don't think you could go wrong on either one of these books. I really don't. I honestly, I think Riri, the actress, she's gonna kill it. And it's you got an animated series, but it's a lot different than on screen, on the big screen, man. I think she's going to do extremely well, and people are going to want every single book she has. So but you can't go wrong with either book. They're already going to make 2 more animated seasons of it, so I
yeah,
don't know.
but my thing about it is that they, I feel like that bottom, that Riri listing, is false advertising because that's not the first full appearance of Riri Williams. But that's neither here or there.
I mean, like, man, that's going to be debated for such a long time, man. I mean,
It's not to be debated. Marvel's already settled the dispute on more than one occasion in print. I mean, we can't sit here and say, "Oh, Marvel should be more transparent about what they consider the first appearance of a character." And every single time that they do it in print, whether it's on the trading card, on the actual comic book, wherever, people still want to dispute it and say, "Oh well, the market decides." Like, this book isn't 6,000 because people believe that it's truly the first appearance of Riri. It's a hard to get book in a 9.8, and it's probably a hard to find book. It's just in off the cuff anyway. Then once you take the color rub issue into consideration, um, and just taking into consideration that for the longest nobody cared about Riri, then it becomes a harder book to find. Does that necessarily mean that it's worth $6,000? In my opinion, no, because again, we talk about opportunity cost. This isn't going to be a $12,000 book one day. I just don't see it happening. Um, so it's like, okay, do I want to spend 6K on that, or do I want to spread that 6K out? Like, I could go buy six something that's killing the children #1s right now. Shit. Probably 7 if I get good deals on them. Like, the opportunity cost will be way higher for those something that's killing the children to double versus this book is already at its peak, in my opinion. It's only going to come down from here.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
other thing, back to fake sales, we had problems with unpaid items with respect to both of these books in the past. I'd be real interested to see if either of these fucking sales were actually paid.
Well,
I might just be like an old cheap bastard, but Jesus Christ.
Didn't Sniff Comics, didn't they sell a 9.8 like last week for around the 5K mark on the Invincible Iron Man #9?
Did it actually get paid?
I don't know. I don't talk to him that often, the owner. So.
I mean, I recognize the background of that Invincible one. That's a shop that's like local to me here. I could text homeboy and ask him if they actually paid on that sale or not. So I'll be able to report back next week if anybody gives a shit. But I recognize that background instantly. Anytime it's that great background, like that's a shop up in the Seattle Bellevue area.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have a problem with either of those books moving for like $4K, but you start to close in on the $6,000 mark, and I'm like, I don't know about all that.
I mean, to put it in perspective, though, so I bought an Invincible #1 for $1,400 before the series dropped. When I first saw like the trailer and stuff, I was like, I don't know. I posted it for I think $2,400 on eBay. It sold like a week before the series dropped, so I sold it $2,400, made $1,000 profit off of having a book in my possession for a month. So I can definitely see after that series and with that book being as rare as it is, yeah, people are getting $3, $4, $5 grand for that book easy. It's a ghost. Like that was during a time when people were like the market still wasn't what it is today. People were getting back into comics. Like those Image print runs were super low. Like I'm surprised that like Larry's comic version even exists for that book because like them print runs were low as hell. So I just don't see somebody investing money in printing a book like an Invincible 1 doing a store variant for it. So yeah, no, it's like it's in the same vein as a Saga or anything else of like those Image books where it's like great fan following, ran for a while. Walking Dead. It was just those early 2000 Image. I mean, not Saga because that was more 2015, 2016. But still, like those early 2000s, 08, 09, 2010 time period for Image. Yeah, them books, those #1s were ghosts. Like Image was not what Image is nowadays. The market is not what it was nowadays. We had just recovered from the catastrophe that was the 90s. Stores were definitely under ordering. So yeah, I can see with the low print run and the success of that story that people are just like, gimme. I mean, I'm hoping that Chew gets his day in the sun.
Do you think this?
I didn't even know, Chris. You are my spiritual brother. I had no idea. Me too.
Do you think this Riri book is more? Would you rather have the Riri book or Saga 1 RRP?
So I want RRP all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Riri's
Saga.
more expensive.
Damn. Tony's asking tough questions.
Well,
Damn.
because it's not to keep everybody here all night, but like this, the reason why is because like we know Riri's coming. It's the same fucking thing that has happened constantly with the MCU effect. It's like FOMO, gotta have it. She shows up. All right, cool. I'm not thinking about this chick for another. Well, it'll be different. It'll be different because they're immediately putting her into Armor Wars. But in the typical effect, Shang-Chi, gotta have it. Now I got it. Oh, we won't be seeing them for at least another year to 2 years again. All right, fuck Shang-Chi. What's next? Like that is the MCU effect. Mel says it all the time. What have you done for me lately? People move on to the next one, and it'll happen with Riri.
This ramp for Riri, though, especially on this book, went way sharper than Shang-Chi or anything else.
Absolutely.
Well,
it was a $1,300 book before COVID.
She hasn't shown up. She hasn't had a cultural impact. She hasn't had, years of stories. It's priced to dominate.
She's not even liked in the comics. Fuck, half the people are like, I don't like her.
Everybody hated her. Everybody hated Miles for all the same reasons. We're not going to go into that because
I don't know if everybody hated Miles though for like plot reasons. They hated Miles for like bigotry reasons. People just don't like Riri because they're like, I don't like the way she's written. I think she's fucking X, Y, and Z.
I didn't want to be the one to say it. But
maybe those are bigotry reasons too. Fuck if I know, but
I mean, but yeah, like nobody cared about these characters, but like the MCU effect is a monster. Like, and it doesn't matter if they have good stories in the comic books outside of it. Like the people who are buying these things at this point aren't comic book people. Like you got to realize that. Like investors have infiltrated our market. They don't give a shit. It's like, hey, my kid knows who that is, or my kid is going to care about that, or saw her in like Marvel Rising or whatever it was. And comic books, like. I have millions of dollars. What can I reinvest my money in? Well, I've got Picasso's and I've got, Basquiat's. Hey, what's this comic book thing that my investor says is a sure thing right now? Let me go throw some money into that. That's who has infiltrated our market. I regularly interact with people who don't know dick about comics and have more money than God and regularly, like, I know somebody who bought a book for $80K off of Heritage, turned around and posted it for $250,000 on eBay, and has been successful in doing shit like that just because he knows the comic book market is just crazy right now. And he's got disposable income like that. He's like, I don't know comics. I know what people tell me to buy. I know Doom's a cool character from what people keep telling me. Hey, I'm going to buy this 9.4 first appearance of Doom and repost it on eBay for $250,000. Oh, I got some reasonable offers and there's talk of Doom actually coming. Raise the price to $500,000. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh wow.
It's weird with this one though, because outside of comics, who knows who Riri is yet? They will.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
will. But
And
there's no video game. There's
the
no
weird investors, Tony, that I see, they're not buying the Riris like it's Silver Age Spidey. You know, like I'm gonna get in this with my kid who's 9 years old, and you know we're gonna do ASM 1 to 300. Fuck, I had to tell one guy who said he was gonna do that. It must be what somebody has advised them. There must be like a Forbes magazine article. But I know two people. One guy who's really sharp about comics, and another guy who was not. And I had to tell him, I'm like, well, are you gonna get an AF-15? And he's like, what's an AF-15? And I was like, I fucking give up.
Well,
they
I
already
mean,
spent like $25,000, and nobody like managed to fucking tell him what an AF-15 is. The other guy is shrewd though. He and his son gives me hope. He's like 9 or something. I don't know. He's fucking rattling off first appearances like this.
I bet they had a couple of issues with Darkhawk though.
I hope so. I hope so.
And then, how many people have you heard moving over from sports card collecting into comics? Like I've heard that quite a bit now, actually, where it's like a bunch of brand new people are just now getting into comic books, which is fine. Like, more people in the hobby is always a good thing, in my opinion.
I mean, wasn't that Stein's thing in the 90s? Like he had predominantly a card shop and also dabbled in comics. Like, did he start out as a card guy who then came over to comics, or was he a comic book guy who was like the card market's just hard to beat right now, so I'm going to open up a card store?
I'm not sure.
I apologize for not knowing the answer to that. I should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're right, and that even goes back to the 181 thing. There are blue chip. They're not even key comic books anymore. They're commodities. They're buy a shit ton of them, put them in a safety deposit box, and leave them there.
I mean,
in sports cards and in comics, and people don't give a shit about the character or the story or how rare it is or how expensive it is. It might be twice as much as what somebody paid for it last month. They don't really care. It's still a commodity.
I'll be completely transparent. I mean, I am a collector. I buy things that I like, but I absolutely take money that my company gives me in the form of like stock options, cash them shits out, and go buy comics, because I get a better return on my investment by having this comics than having money invested in my company's stock. That simple. I will take the money they give me every single year as I stay there as an employee and invest, and I will cash out them stock options, and I'll go buy a comic book because it's a better return on my investment. I'm not going to see a 50% return on my investment on the company's stock. That shit just ain't happening unless we get bought by somebody. So no, I reinvest in the comics. It's something I know. It's something I love. And it has been very fruitful for me. So yeah, and there's people who are way more shrewd investors than I am and do the exact same fucking thing.
All right, before we call it a night, well, make sure to catch us tomorrow for our Prospect 10 list, and then we will continue like some of these conversations in our roundtable discussion, and then we have some new topics that we want to bring up. Does anyone have any whatnot shows coming up, or any other podcast shows coming up this week, or anything you want to promote, like before I do my final thoughts?
I haven't made up my mind yet. I gotta pick a time that ninth ain't on, or Mel, or you know what I mean. I gotta pick a time where there's somebody just not selling good books. I don't know.
Well, I got a show on Sunday, and then whatnot text me to do something next week. I think next Thursday I have to do an extra show, and then I'll be at NYCC at the beginning of October with whatnot. So
nice. That's exciting.
Yep. And I will. Go ahead.
Oh, and then I was just gonna say, catch me on Cover Picks on every Wednesday on my YouTube channel. That's like the thing that I care about the most now. I love buying and flipping books, but I really love doing that show every Wednesday. And now I'm glad that I'm gonna be on more Flipside show, because I love doing stuff like this as well. So I'm excited to go to NYCC and sell books, but I'm more excited about creating content and having debates like this, so we can kind of right some of the wrongs that's been done in the comic book community, because there's a lot of bad spec and bad advice out there right now. But we're gonna straighten that out. The dirty flippers are gonna straighten that out.
Amen.
Damn straight.
Yep. And I'll say one last thing real fast to answer Johnny Left Hand. What about capital gains on cashing out those shares? You let them take the taxes out of the shares upon the sale. So basically, you just get the net. They pay the feds whatever they're owed out of the potential sales. At the end of the day, it's 100% profit because I did nothing to get it other than work for the company. So I'm not complaining about what I get in return from it. Simple as that.
Chris Colbert, what a beast.
Damn straight. And I'm gonna try to have a couple of whatnot shows, probably a late night NSFW adult show again, just for fun.
Oh yeah, I
And
love
then,
it, bro.
Not safe for work.
Yeah,
Dude, hey, if y'all don't know, man, Tony
oh,
is the shit, dude.
oh.
Oh my god,
yeah,
dude.
you got that.
That
you
was
got
like
Pulp
the
Fiction one
best
last
show,
night, right?
man. Oh my god, dude.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I didn't give a shit, but
Dude,
I don't know what's happening here, but I want to watch it. I want in.
Dude, it was awesome.
All right.
and then I'm gonna do an all slab show. It sounds like maybe what you're doing there, Ninth Wonder. Maybe next Thursday, kind of thing. I don't
Feel
know.
like a cherry
chat-
Pop-Tart show, or what's
We'll chat
happening?
after.
We're going to talk privately. Very interested.
Yeah, and then I'll probably have a sell on Sunday evening. What time is it? 11 p.m. Eastern or 11:30, somewhere around there. I like to sell to those West Coast people and those insomniacs that stay up on the East Coast. Popular crowd that Sunday night instead of sleeping for Monday morning for work. But whatever, we'll talk comics. And then I'm excited to say that Comic Book Food Chain is back. We've reformatted the show, and we had our first live show yesterday, and it was pretty fun. So
Who is it?
I
It's
saw
you?
So it's me, Ant, Laura has joined us, and their invoicer Tim. So
I don't know
Ant-
Tim. I feel
Tim,
neglected.
he's part of the Bird City crew.
All right.
Yeah. He was our producer. Like, he didn't really like to be on camera, but he's doing comic book reviews on stuff.
I like you guys have a producer. We got to get one of those.
I know, right? That's when we get when we're real famous, right?
All right.
But yeah. And then, as a final thought for the day, I worked from home today, and one of my neighbors was arrested by the FBI, and I've been watching a lot of Wu-Tang Clan. So one thing I want to say is, FBI, don't you be watching me.